Hey, good morning, everyone. Sam Portland here, back again. The weather is turning, which is nice. Hopefully, you enjoyed the video yesterday. And if you've not caught up with it, it's easy. You can head over to my YouTube or listen to it on the Sports Talks podcast. I'm giving you more ways to connect and more ways to listen. And hopefully, I can help you on your way. So, the topic that I want to discuss today is actually what speed conditioning is. Um, It'd be really interesting if you could let me know in the comments, what are you thinking of these videos as well? And ask me some direct questions and I will provide you with the video. I will do what I can. My mission is to be getting these out 3 to 5 times a week for you. So hopefully we can get everything covered. But today, what is speed conditioning? It's something that I see is an area, especially in team sport, sprint development, that is severely lacking, and a true understanding, or maybe just a bias towards certain other conditioning modalities, can be ruining your gains as a coach and as an athlete as well. So when we look at sort of the definition of conditioning, what are we trying to do with that? We are trying to create a tolerance to a specific activity. Now, if we can use that, use that definition and then take that out into the sprint realm, then what does that mean? So first and foremost, to me, what it means is being able to sprint, to be able to have the technical and physical capacity to run in a straight line without blowing up, basically, if we were going to take it to an extreme. And so with that, we need to look at certain things. Do we have peripheral conditioning, which being all the working musculature and tendons and connective tissue? And do we have central conditioning, such as the energy system demand, the alactic aerobic nature of sprinting? So when we look at that, then we can create two very clear distinctions. But herein lies the biggest problem. When we look at sprinting for team sports, people will look at a game and watch it and essentially try to create some form of fartlek system or high percentage sprint repeatability. And I understand why those are created, because if you watch a game, then you see someone sprint and then jog and then sprint and then jog and think, well, that's a really good way to do isolated conditioning, where actually all you're doing is replicating some of the demands of the game, not conditioning an athlete to the demands of the game. Very two clear distinctions, because if we just wanted to replicate parts of the game, we would just go to training. And that is something where removing a bias is really important. And so when we consider this with team sport athletes, how am I preparing my athletes to sprint, to continually sprint, be conditioned to sprint? And it comes from a really simple process. First, we make sure there's technical capacity. And then second, we make sure there's physical capacity at differing percentages of maximum velocity. So if you can imagine, we have a pyramid. We have a pyramid of preparation. And I'm going to get the whiteboard out again because it is so vital and valid. And you can see that these conversations really migrate themselves, which is what I love and why I love doing this. It's part of a documenting process for me as well. So when so if we were to take this performance pyramid of conditioning, and let's move this up out of the way. This thing, let's go. Okay, so back to it. Apologies. So if we were to take this triangle, okay, up here is our max speed. Up here is our walking. Okay. On the other side, this is highly lactic, and this is highly aerobic. Okay. And then obviously we've got a percentage of max within. And as you go up and scale up in intensity of your movement, then you're going to see a shift towards the demand of almost a sliding scale of demand of what the predominant energy system is. Now, this middle ground here is where people get confused, and what we tend to call this is the red zone. It's the no-go zone, because what we do is we create a problem for the body, and what that is that the body cannot turn over metabolic byproduct fast enough, so there's no speed to create new energy, to create more speed, simply. All right, so that you can see that can create a big problem. And then in terms of velocity, if this is a graph over time and we're starting here, and if we're trying to maintain that output for too long, it's just going to decay, and that's called a velocity decrement. And this is evident. Okay, this is evident in a 100-meter race. So we take this 100 meters, okay, and 0, and what happens if we've got 60, and we'll put dispensation for Usain Bolt, 80 meters, we'll put 15 meters per second here. Okay, most athletes, they'll keep accelerating to the 60, reach about 10 to 11 meters per second, maybe a bit more, and then start rapidly declining and just holding that velocity. Okay, I've made that to that low to illustrate the point. It's not to scale, because someone may say that. But if you're Usain Bolt, for example, you keep climbing, and then has a shorter drop off. All right, because he was able to achieve a much higher velocity given to anyone else. So that illustrates the previous point. For me, very, very well, is that's evident in one of the fastest disciplines in the world. So when we're thinking about logically, how do I create a conditioning program for my athletes, and that's going to allow them to be conditioned to the demands of the game. So what we need to do is create. All right, this is where the variations of extensive to intensive tempo come in, and also repeat alactic sprinting. Okay, so firstly today I'm just going to go into the idea of what's known as extensive tempo, and then can build in further, because this could be 3, 5, 10 videos. But so extensive tempo, what we're trying to do is take so of 100, we have 0, we're trying to take in and around the 70% mark, and this comes from extensive tempo was derived or popularized by a guy called Charlie Francis. So I have to give all the credit there. But we're trying to take this 70% velocity mark, right? And this is where working capacity happens. So inside this 70%, we're getting a lot of turnover. All right, that's your energy system giving you turnover. So we're getting lots of turnover of O2, metabolic byproduct. That's, the system is working and humming really, really well. All right. At a given velocity. And what this does here is allows us to develop technical capacity, but also physical capacity, because similarly to 70% of your 1RM in the gym is going to help you develop strength and some hypertrophy in some cases, if it goes to glycolytic, that this is strength training. This is actually strength training. So it's really useful for you to understand that we're developing the task-specific physical capacity for running. All right, and that's going to allow you to increase repeatability. So when we look at when we're looking at this, what we're able to do, and this your own working capacity comes in. Okay, what you should do if you're a team sport athlete, you need to pick a specific distance. So for example, if you are an American footballer, so for me right now, my extensive tempo runs off 50 meters. Okay, when I was playing rugby on a wing, my extensive tempo went from 80 to 100 meters because it's a supramax distance given for a typical longer duration run in the game. Also, I'm using 50 meters because I'm trying to hold my weight. Then what we're trying to do is create depth. Okay, try and create depth to that working capacity. I don't want to have to only be able to achieve that kind of shape. I can do it once, but can't do it again. So if you're stuck and you go through, right, I'm going to pick 50 meters and all I want to do is start accumulate 10 times one set. And then what you can do is the law of accommodation. You do 10 times one set. All right. Then you can do it two ways. You can skin it two ways. You can do 6 times 2 sets. Okay. Then you could wave back. And maybe if you only had time, you could do the 1 set and go back and do the 10 sets, do 10 reps for 1 set off of a working, simple, high work to rest ratio, high rest to work ratio clock. An easy way to do it is work off a minute. Okay, and then you can assess where your conditioning is and go from there. What that's going to allow you to do is develop so much working tissue, so much working quality, get lots of submax sprint volume. But what it is going to do is actually condition your body further. And it's going to allow you to improve yourself and improve if you're a coach, improve your athletes in a way that's actually physically conditioning their body, preparing their body for the game, not replicating the game. So let me know what you think in the comments. You know, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment, podcast, you know, everything, subscribe, get at me, let me know. I love doing these and I love communicating, and hopefully together, Sportland Nation, we can start creating beast athletes and also coaches with really good lives.